Monica, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Super excited to chat with you. We've been Jenny and I have been watching your videos for a while. There's so much fun. You must have such a good time filming all the time.
Yeah, definitely do. It's definitely a good time for me, for the girls. Everybody enjoys behind the scenes.
Yeah. How'd you get into dancing as a whole? How'd you start this?
Oh man, I like to joke that I danced my way out of the womb. But no, I've always been into dance. I grew up dancing recreationally and then competitively, and then I went to university, and in university I was like, I'm gonna stop dancing, I'm gonna focus on my schoolwork, In the meantime, by second semester of first year, I was totally antsy, needed something to do with myself, ended up taking all the dance classes that I could find through our athletic complex, and ended up starting to teach actually in my fourth year, and then got introduced to the dance community in Toronto, and that's sort of been
the path.
Yeah.
Crazy. And did you start, was it from when your parents made you do it when you were little, or did you start? Yeah.
Oh yeah. I was dancing. Oh man, I was probably dancing around the house before I was even in classes or anything like that. But yeah, I was dancing my whole life.
In your blood.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And did you do kind of this? My sister did competitive dance when she was younger as well. Mm-hmm. Did you do the tap, jazz, ballet, hip hop, the whole?
Did it all. But when you're in competitive dance, a lot of the time, and I mean, it depends what studio you're at, but hip hop is usually not the one that's pushed a lot. It's kind of this is the extra one. It's kind of the fun one. All the technique based ones are sort of looked at more reputably, I guess you could say. And that's why when I went into university, I found it so amazing to find this whole hip hop dance community, especially then when I came back to Toronto, because that's sort of when I got introduced to dancing in heels, which is kind of more a commercial form of dance, but I was obsessed with the music videos of Beyonce and all of that kind of dancing, J-Lo. That's what I loved.
Nice. And so when you were in university, what was that was the main offering, was a hip hop style, or it was more freestyle-y kind of?
They had everything.
Technical? Yeah.
They had everything. So our athletic complex offered a certain amount of classes, and those were all styles. And then there were other teams. There was our competitive dance team that competed against other schools. And then there was a competitive hip hop team. By the time I was in fourth year, I was a part of everything and teaching.
Got it.
And did school.
Was this sounds was it an arts?
No, it was a regular university.
Where'd you go?
I went to Wilfrid Laurier.
Okay.
And they happened to have a pretty awesome dance community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds like it'd be an art school type. It doesn't sound like a regular university.
I ended up taking probably equivalent, if not more, classes in dance as I did in school. Yeah, but it was cool. I mean, they didn't have heels dancing before I was there, and one summer I came to Toronto and I took a heels class, and I was like, oh my God, this is the greatest thing ever. And then I was like, hey, would anybody be interested in this class if, I brought it to Laurier, and people went crazy, and it ended up, becoming a class, and I taught it, and it's still there to this day.
Yeah. And so what you're doing now is it pretty much just stemmed exactly from where that was, or was there a big transition there?
No, I guess it stemmed from that, but I never, I know it sounds like I went to an art school, but I didn't. What I was studying, dance was always a hobby.
Right.
It wasn't a career path ever for me. I didn't understand how it could be. Also because I was the person who was like, well, I don't really want to be a backup dancer. Most of the time I'm surrounded by these people who are so excited to go to LA and audition and backup dance with all those big artists, and I was like, that sounds so awesome, but it doesn't sound awesome for me. It's not exactly what I want to do. And that's where I was sort of troubled as a dancer, because I'm like, and I don't want to open a studio, because that was kind of the other route. You had those two
Only
options.
2 things. Yeah.
And I was like, well, I love kids, but I don't want to open a kids studio. And I didn't really think of a dance studio being anything other than a children's based dance studio.
Right.
Yeah,
there's not a lot of that. It seems like there's more and more. Since I've been following you, I've been keeping an eye on different things that are happening, and it's it's kind of there. And even in a kind of a weaker way, but Zumba, that type of group style of dance has kind of been around, so it's Yeah.
So it's funny that you bring up Zumba because I've been doing really the dance choreography based classes for a while now, and that was sort of like the heels stuff and all of that, and then I ran workshops and things like that, and I'm actually transitioning now more towards a dance fitness oriented program or potential studio because boutique fitness is really where it's at right now.
Yeah.
In New York, dance fitness is like they have so many options, and I find that here in Toronto the only thing that you can really find in terms of cardio dance fitness is those Zumba style classes. Right. So I started marketing our classes, FYF Fitness, so Find Your Fierce Fitness, as Zumba meets Beyonce on crack cocaine. Because that's what it is. We're like crazy, ridiculous, wild energy. Right. We're bouncing off the walls. We're twerking everywhere. Like it's madness, and you sweat your brains out. You have a little bit of toning in between, so it really feels like a good workout. Yeah. But that's sort of a bit of, I know before we got on here, we started talking about what pivoting in a business, and so I'm sort of at this point where I am sort of trying to pivot because I'm looking at business models and trying to understand really where the opportunity lies within this field that I love so much. And I really believe that boutique fitness is up and coming, if not already here. You see the Barry's boot camps, you see the Soul Cycles, all of that, and no one's taken over dance fitness here.
It's your spot.
It would be nice.
and so in terms of the actual business model, how do you see the two differently? So there's the classes versus the, like, how are you picturing it more of like gym membership rather than signing up for X amount of classes? Like how are you differentiating that in your mind?
So right now, boutique fitness classes, generally speaking, are drop-in classes. So that's one option. Class packs, which are like 5 class pack, 10 class pack, unlimited monthly pack, right? So that's sort of how we're structured right now. I know there's a lot of talk in the industry about how boutique fitness can prevail with that sort of system, and even for gyms as well, because gyms are also realizing like, hey, people pay a membership, which is great for them, but then now they want those classes. Group fitness classes are huge, right? So they're saying like maybe it has to be structured in a way that there is some kind of membership, but it's like your membership entitles you to X amount of classes per month. Right. So, and that's what they're saying that we should sort of be on the lookout for and potentially bring into our business model to say like, hey, buy this pack, not unlimited monthly, but you get, 10 dance fitness classes a month and you get, 2 choreography classes.
Got it.
Something like that.
All right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
And so you have a studio now?
So currently we rent space. Okay. We rent space at a spot near Yonge and Bloor. Okay. And we take a bunch of hours there and we just run our classes out of there. And that's kind of an amazing way to test a business model before you really jump into a large amount of overhead in downtown Toronto. Sure.
I'm picturing with the intensity you have, the studio is going to take a lot of renovations. It's going to be very colorful.
Oh, that's funny that you say that because I would love a colorful studio, and none of the studios that I've been to have been anything like what I want, but I've seen what I want
in New York
elsewhere. Yes, freaking New York.
Yeah. And so right now, from the way that you're running the business, do you have enough? So tell me about how you're trying to build it out. Like, you're obviously a big part of the face of it now.
Currently.
Yeah. And are you working towards training, bringing some people in, training them up, and having them being able to run stuff?
Yeah, exactly. So I just brought on board, I have about 2 other instructors currently, one under training, and we just did instructor auditions for the very first time on Saturday. Yesterday was Saturday.
That was.
And that was a really interesting process in and of itself to understand like sort of what's the best way to bring people on. So, we put out a job listing on Indeed, we posted on Facebook, we posted on Instagram, we got a couple people from a bunch of different places. We ran the audition yesterday. I would say about 50% were really like along the lines of what we were looking for, and 50% were sort of like not along the lines of what we were looking for.
Well, it's a pretty unique offering / ask, I would say, based on the type of thing you're doing. So,
yeah. But really, it's all in the energy and personality. And I like to say, you know, we come into the class and we're the hype squad. Yeah. We are your hype squad. Yeah. So.
Yeah. And so where, just because I've worked with all those platforms before, where did you find the best return on time from the job posting side of it?
So I got a ton of applicants from Indeed.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to think of the people that I liked, where they came from. I think a bunch of them, like the majority of the people who came through were from Indeed. I think maybe one or two were, you know, hey, I'm interested from Instagram or whatever. Right. And then like a bunch of people are like, oh, I can't make this audition. Like, when are you doing them again? I'm like, well, that doesn't matter right now because we're doing them now.
Exactly. So, yeah. One thing that I'll recommend with Indeed, so we were helping a friend's company hire 6 people at a time at one point. You can get on the phone with a rep at Indeed. Yeah. And they have a way of, the way you write it and the way you use certain keywords within the job description to actually really optimize it for results.
Like without paying anything extra to like boost it. Because I definitely had some emails about that.
Yes. So and both, when you're talking to somebody, it's usually when you're doing the paid version. But even if you do like one stint of the paid, it's just to get that information. They do have account reps that will help guide and help bring the right people quicker. And because we spent quite a bit, we were like maybe $1,000 in on Indeed, and we had some mediocre, and then we got on there as a rep. I can't remember what her name was, but she really helped guide the path of how we should write the descriptions and all this stuff. And then all of a sudden more qualified people started popping in the door. So if you can get on with one of their reps, and even if it's like you have to like do one paid one just to get the knowledge, it's probably worth it. Yeah. So, and then so what's the plan? So you're going to bring people on and you're going to kind of continue in this space, or now are you tinkering with the idea of looking for a space now, or not sure?
So I'm looking. I will tell you that space downtown Toronto is particularly hard to find for what I'm doing, mostly because I'm dealing with a lot of noise. So really a lower level space would be perfect for me. Something that touches the ground, your sound is absorbed partially from that. So, and an obstructed space. So like, for instance, I found this space that actually was not crazy in terms of pricing or anything like that, but right in the middle of the studio are 2 big pillars. Right. And I'm like, I don't know if I can surround this podcast, but
fuck it, let it fly. I can't.
I'm like, shit, like this place is so good and so perfect and so done. There are 2 giant pillars in the middle.
Right. It's hard to turn sideways and hop through, I guess.
We are in this class. We're going side to side, back, front. Yeah. We're moving all over the place. Yeah. I think even from a strict liability perspective of someone like not looking where they're going and just running into the pillar.
Dance is not usually a contact sport. Yeah. But on your next episode of Find Your Feet.
On your next episode, that would be really interesting. But no, it's true. It's so anyways, it's difficult. Yeah. Am I looking? Yes, I'm interested. Do I think that what I'm doing right now, bringing on instructors, maybe is like a blessing in disguise to say like, hey, you're really testing this business model at minimum viable product? I think maybe it is. Yeah. And then you take it from there.
Does make a lot of sense. Yeah, I mean, locking into commercial lease is a huge commitment.
And you're looking at 5-10 years, and you're looking at, if it's not a done space, like about 100,000 to reno, if not more, depending on what you're trying to do.
Yeah. Well, and studio flooring is not cheap for your type of stuff, right?
Yeah. I mean, looking at the price sheet, it's just it's something in and of itself. But it's definitely a really big learning experience. Not something that, going into something as a dancer, I never thought that I would be looking at these things. Sure. And then when you start thinking like bigger picture, really you do. You have to, because if that business model is not there, you kind of have to figure something else out.
Yeah. And so tell me a little bit about the type of student. I mean, anybody, I'll link up all of your profiles and for people that haven't heard of you, but tell me about the type of students that you bring in, who you're targeting in terms of like your market.
Yeah, so I see it as 24 to 35 is your core. You're gonna get spill off on both sides. Funny enough, I've had like 2 classes where I have like the 16-year-old comes in, brings their mom, and like brings like another sibling, and I'm like, this is so weird. This is not what I pictured at all. But the majority of people who come through are definitely, I would say, 24, 35, looking for a fun way to work out.
Yeah.
They're like, they either, do not like the idea of the gym. It's painful to think about and go. The idea of getting on a treadmill is boring and not appealing.
I agree with that.
Yeah. So that's I think why specifically women really like group fitness, because 1, the motivation is there. 2, it's a community environment. 3, it's fun.
Yeah.
Like it's a fun way, and especially in our classes, we're not, at least at this point, like we don't use anything other than our own bodies.
Right.
There's no weights. We do some abs on the floor sometimes, but really it's like you're using all your own body weight, you're dancing around, you're sweating buckets. It is fun. You're like pretty much getting a performance. Us as the instructors, we're pretty energetic.
Yeah.
We just try to get you to booty pop harder, go.
Have you hurt yourself teaching a class yet?
Oh, no. Have I hurt myself teaching a class?
It feels like this is prone to injury.
No, I haven't. But no, it's just like, it's funny. I taught a class this morning, and I go into their face, and I'm like, punch me in the face. And they're just like air punching, right? But it's just to get them hyped up, and it's funny because so much of the time the instructor is focused on like looking in the mirror and stuff like that, and we're like, get in their face. They love it. Like it makes them smile. It makes them forget that they're running out of breath, So it's,
Very cool.
Yeah.
And so in terms of finding that audience and bringing people in, like what's been your biggest driver? We talked a little bit beforehand about Instagram. Maybe you have a very big following on Instagram. Seems like you have really, really high engagement, which is great. Has that kind of been the biggest driver, new people in, or in terms of branding?
Yeah, I would probably say Instagram has been a big one in terms of, especially specifically the dance stuff, when that was really, really, really the core focus. As we move a little bit more into fitness, it's funny because like the engagement, if I'm being totally honest, or maybe I should say the views. It's funny, the engagement actually is staying pretty much the same, if not increasing, but the views have actually dropped a little bit as we do these fitness videos. So I'm trying to understand, and maybe this is where you can help out a little bit, to say like, is it just that dance choreography videos, because they're so intricate and crazy and fast, that's just really, really appealing to people to look at from an entertainment perspective. But really, if I'm looking for clients, I want people who are going to engage and say like, hey, I want to come out to this class. And that's funny enough what I'm getting. Outside of Instagram, though, I would say referrals.
Always the best.
Bringing their friends. Like we just implemented this referral program where it's like, bring a friend and you will get a free class.
Okay, so that's exactly what. Bring a paying customer, you get something for free. Perfect. Yeah, it's a great place to play. I think from the Instagram perspective, the views could be a product of just Instagram changing their shit around all the time. It's one of those things where, and I think in the next 3 years, maybe not even, like it's going to probably get as bad as Facebook. That's my prediction on it, because they know they can get people to pay. Buy my ads. That's it. You got to suck it up. But I think, in my opinion, it's if the quality of the people that you're hitting are the right people, then the growth of the account doesn't mean as much. I think so. You're probably at a point where you're kind of like 100 to 150 new followers a day, in that ballpark.
It could be like, it just depends. It depends on the week. Content. Depends how much content you're posting. But
do you track kind of like kind of a weekly
I probably should track it more than I currently do.
Yeah, because as you have the business profile, you can actually go and take a look at the highest performing pieces and maybe extrapolate some info from there.
Yeah.
I would say this. I would say Instagram is from the post side, it's a great branding tool. It's a great bring people from all over and get attention. So whatever's working the best for that is where I'd go. And even if those videos are too fast for it to be, because here's the thing, right? Someone that's new to it is going to see that video and be intimidated as fuck and be like, no, I don't think so. But it might intrigue them enough to pull them in and follow the page. Getting them to follow the page is the important part, because you can then use stories to do choreography or show what it actually, like, what I think you could use stories for is break down like almost like what is it like to be like, maybe even have a story that follows around someone on their first class, someone that feels like they, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Have that as like a segment or something that people could follow, and maybe even use that content later on the website. You saw us on Instagram, thought it was too much. Don't worry, like anybody can do it. You could use some content like that. And then I even think, if someone's seeing this cool stuff and they're drawn to it, using the story to show some entry level moves. And what I mean by that, and you can actually use this with the ad side as well, but I even think about it like you've got your phone facing down at your feet. And you're like, dun, dun, and you're like walking through, but it's like, so someone could literally be watching their phone and like doing the action, be like, oh, I can do that.
It's not that bad.
They then see like what that in fast mode looks like, and they're like, fuck, I gotta try it. So that might be a cool piece of content actually to test, is like filming your feet so someone could like follow the steps.
Yeah.
Even for YouTube.
Step 1, feet. Step 2, arms. Step 3, hair.
I can't. Mine doesn't work. Mine doesn't do it like that. But yeah, you've got the right hair for going.
Oh yeah, that's why I have neck problems.
Okay.
Yeah. No, actually.
Have you played around with Instagram ads? Have you ever kind of done a little bit?
We have done ads, not many times. I would say probably 4 or 5 times. And it's definitely something that I would like to do more of. However, where we're at right now, and this has always been, and again, maybe you can give some insight here based on your perspective, because we're not at a consistent studio right now, we're between studios, it becomes hard for me to say like, oh, I really want to invest in this ad right now as I'm promoting one studio here, one studio there, pop up here, pop up there. So come June, we have 2 potential options in terms of like a more permanent space.
Got it.
That we will have classes at pretty much every day. So what I'd like to do is leading up to that, maybe starting the 2nd week of May or something, we would start pushing on Instagram, because it will be one spot consistently. Yeah,
I think you're on the right track with that. And the reason I think that is because from all of my experience, the universal best situation with ads are the ads that run the longest period of time. So turning on an ad for a week, it's always going to be shit. But if you said like, and it doesn't, so I wouldn't corner yourself by like, it's Tuesdays and Thursdays at this time, but if it's a consistent space, or even maybe even not mentioning the space, but just but what I would do is create some piece of content that would go out that you don't change. It's not based on seasonality, it's not based on the time of year, it's not based on a promo, it's just, hey, we're this cool company doing this cool thing, we're looking for people like this, come and check us out. Because the longer you can leave that running, the more engagements it gets, the likes and the shares, and as that builds up over time, the impact of that grows dramatically. So anything that you can run, like our best ads run 18 months, 28, 25 months, like forever, as long as you can possibly run them for.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so because what happens is, especially if you run it like as an engagement style ad, you'll get, say you get 100 likes a week or 200 likes and a couple shares and some comments. What happens is after 2 or 3 or 4 months, it's got 1,500 likes and 300 shares and 40 comments, and people are like, oh, what the fuck is this? And it's kind of the same psychology. You follow BlogTO, their content. Every time you see it, you're like, this has so many fucking views. It has all this stuff on it already. And you're just like, cool, I'm going to read it. And you don't even want to read it. It's most of the time it's horrible content. Sorry, I blocked you. Not horrible content, but like it's not like that groundbreaking.
It doesn't go into.
Right, and you go in, you're like, okay, well, whatever. I guess I went there. Yeah. But you do it because you're like, wait, 4,800 people have liked it, and there's 400 comments. Okay, your brain is drawn to the virality of it. Yeah. So you can kind of cheat the virality by, especially if you're not setting out a huge budget, by setting out a budget where like maybe in the first month you spend like $100, and then you lower it down to like $1 or $2 a day forever, and just let it run and go and go and go and go.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because now you may run into a problem where that ad is no longer relevant. You got to take it down. So, but do it as generalized as possible. Hey, we're a cool company. We do this cool thing. We'd like to have you come. The call to action could be like, the button could be like, learn more. It goes to your website, and the website changes based on where you're going to be, right? That's probably the better answer, so that it can run more longer term. As possible. But yeah, we had one with an e-commerce thing where like, until like 9 or 10 months in, there was like almost nothing. And then all of a sudden it had like 5,000 likes, it had all this attention, and then all of a sudden products started flying out the door.
Really interesting.
Yeah. So think about, if you're going to do it, think about it like that. Because when you're running the ads, you set like a daily budget. So the other thing is, when you did them, did you boost them right from the app?
I think I actually went through Facebook.
Right.
And did everything through there.
So the Facebook, right.
Yeah, like the actual, not just through what's it called, like
Boost.
Instagram or Boost.
Okay, good. Yeah, that's a better way to do it. If you create like the business profile, and then you do it in there, because then you can target, like you can drop a map pin on where all the areas are.
But then it's also like, because it lets you either choose your audience or I guess like Facebook just guesses based on their own stuff. Yeah. Or algorithms who they think would be interested. What's your suggestion there?
So there's two sides to it. So what I'd recommend testing two things. So you probably have a buyer persona, which is a female who lives in one of these areas, who's between this age and this age, who has an interest in X. So I think your interest base, if you're going down that path, is like Zumba, ClassPass, those people that follow those, right? And you siphon their audience, because that's like people that already know about classes, and then you put up a video where like, oh, that looks more interesting than other things I've done. Then you get them. The other side of it is you can actually build an audience. So what you do is you make a pool of people to start. And so my pool of people are my followers. Yeah. Right? So I want to put all my Instagram followers or people that interact with my posts in a pool. And then I tell Facebook/Instagram, it's the same platform. Yeah. You say, hey, go find me more people that are just as the most similar to these people. It's called a lookalike audience. It can work, but when Facebook doesn't understand the end result, it's a little bit limiting. And what I mean by that is, in an e-commerce situation, if I say, I want people, so I make a pool of 100 people that bought my microphone, and I say, Facebook, go find me more people like the people that bought this microphone. So they'll find different things using their technology to maybe find people that would buy it. But when it understands that if I'm targeting that audience and then those people are buying it, it's a good audience. If it doesn't understand the people that are actually signing up with you, then it long term is not going to have the same result. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
And the other thing is, I mean, I'm lucky I do have quite a bit of a Toronto following. Yep. Probably a lot because of the people who have come to the classes and people who told other people and all that. But then there's the international following, right? Yeah. So it's kind of like making sure that whoever the lookalike that Facebook is pulling from is recognizing that it has to be in Toronto. It's the classes are in Toronto.
Yeah. So when you're creating it, it makes you specify a country. Okay. And then you say Canada. And then what you do, so when you use that lookalike to make the ad, it'll automatically go Canada. You can cut out of that, go Toronto, but then say, so my lookalikes that are in Toronto, and then whatever that number is probably going to be a sweet place for you, because it feels like the people that follow you. And you might even go lookalike Toronto female only. That might be easier. Yeah. That'd probably actually be more impactful. Yeah. And then if that audience is anywhere over 20,000, you can run a great ad to them.
Yeah.
If it's below, it might be a challenge. You want to keep, if it's between 20 and 100,000 in that audience pool, then it's probably a sweet spot to run that type of ad we were talking about.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
That's good to keep in mind.
Yeah. But I think it'd be a great way to just get people onto the website, seeing what it's all about. I think it would be, based on the amount of video content and the quality of the content that you have, it'd be a really easy pull for you.
Yeah, we're definitely the content is definitely a big part of what we're doing, and I think that is a huge draw to a lot of people. Yeah.
And so how do you go about shooting? Do you have a team, or you just self-learn like that in that as well?
So I mean, when I started out, when I started first just doing the dance videos, really it was like I ended up finding, like 2 photographers or videographers rather that I worked really well with. And I am a lot involved.
Control freak?
Well, especially when it comes to the dance specific choreo content, when it comes to especially when it was those more music video type ones, I'm very particular. I know what I want the choreography to look like. I know what I wanted everything to look like. Yeah. As we go into the dance fitness, it's a little bit different. And we've set up a consistent schedule where we actually have 1 shoot date a week. And I might even turn that into 2, because again, the most engaging thing is really seeing the videos. You can take a picture of someone doing an action shot and you're like, oh, that's cool. But unless you actually see what they're doing and the type of stuff you'd be doing in the class, that's the real draw that brings people in. So now we're doing once a week. Yep. I get a bunch of awesome, hype, crazy girls out, and we have this one location that we've been shooting out of. As we move into summer, it would be great to take some of that outdoors.
Yeah. Some new settings, new surroundings.
Yeah, exactly. So that's where we're at right now.
Well, you guys are absolutely crushing the content game. It's the most important thing. It's why I'm investing in. Yeah. It's like putting a face, having a brand, having a personality to the brand, and showcasing what you can do. It's like the perfect medium. Yeah. Right? And not a lot of people have the capability. It's hard. Because you have something that's so visual, it's super helpful as well, right? Yeah. And then in terms of the editing process and stuff like that, when it comes to the fitness, it's a lot less. I mean, I got someone on Fiverr to sort of help me out with this cool logo thing, so that was great. And even through talking to people, I'm getting some really cool tips in terms of, getting cool things done, whether that's for social media and using sources like a Fiverr and stuff like that. It's funny, I recently did a project with this someone on Fiverr, and everyone's like, oh, how did you do that logo? Did you learn that? And I'm like, no. It wasn't me, but I asked someone to do it. I found someone on the internet.
No, but I told them what to do, but I didn't do it. No, I know how to do editing, but I don't, I can't do any of that super crazy graphic stuff. Yeah. But the editing, I've always been very involved in that.
Yeah. And that would be hard to pass off. There's things like Upwork, which is the next level of Fiverr. You could get it done, but then if you have a specific, you're kind of over the shoulder, watching like a hawk kind of.
When it comes to the fitness ones, I'm less so, because again, they're more just a small taste of promo. When it came to when I was doing really a lot of the music video type ones, no way, that had to be me. There was so much stuff in there that just nobody would notice except for me. And people just don't have the same vision. If you're creating the choreography and all of that, it's not the same. If you're doing an in class, it's it's not a big deal. Right. There's not as much editing that needs to go into it.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
And you kind of want people to screw up a little bit, because then you're they're still having fun. Yeah.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah.
And so, as you're thinking about adding in more people, bringing eyeballs, what's your biggest priority from a marketing standpoint? How are you trying to get it out? What do you have what's on your mind?
To recruit people?
Everything. To get people into the classes.
So to get people into the classes right now, that's why we started this referral program, because and I just was speaking to my team about this on Monday night. It was like almost every person in the class had a friend. And so really, and I've spoken to, some people who are doing what I love in New York, again, sort of where I've gotten that inspiration. And even with them, they're like, our thing that helped us the most was referrals. For me, I mean, I'm lucky that I have that social following.
Yep.
But again, it's like, it's almost, you have to keep either showing up in front of their face, or you got to get someone that they know into a class in order for them to come. Because like you said, a lot of people are intimidated, even if it is like a more fitness oriented class. So getting people in the class definitely is, I'm trying to find any additional creative ways that I can get people in there. Because then once they come, most of the time they end up coming back.
Yeah.
So
that makes sense.
Yeah.
One thing I was thinking about, just because it seems like you've got like a very, the people that are like into it, they get into the class. Like it's very high energy, it's very intense. Do you ever record like testimonials or anything like that to use?
So I have some written testimonials. I did one video a while back that was a testimonial video, but it definitely needs an update.
Yeah. Yeah, what I was thinking is we've got the circle light ring. Yeah. Where you set up the camera, and it'd be really. And another client of ours just started doing this at her office. Yeah. After they're done the service, she's like, hey, do you mind? Would you record like a quick?
Like some
people are like, not really into it, but some people, if you get them while they're excited. Yeah. Setting up just like a camera in the light ring. Smart. They'd be like, hey, I was here and like it's such a great time and da-da-da-da. It's like a really good bank of content for the website, especially if, here's the thing, your referral base is great, but at some point that can plateau. Yeah. And when you want to go to the next level, it's like, I need new people. Where are the new people? Yeah. So if you're getting people in through social and they're like, this looks really cool, but it's tricky, it's intimidating. Maybe they go to the website, maybe they're floating around. Having video testimonials on your website of people that like, even like people, hey, it was my first class. Hey, I was like super intimidated, but it was great. And they were super accommodating and nice. Having that, like that validation, I think would be a really smart place, especially even if it's just for website content, for the new people that are thinking about it, that weren't brought in by a friend who's like, no, it's gonna be okay, right?
It's gonna be okay. And it's so funny at the end of it, everyone's just like, oh yeah, that wasn't so bad. Yeah. But it's getting people in the class. Something about dance is like very intimidating.
It is intimidating because you see all these shows now.
Yeah, but we're not doing that.
Still, you know what I mean? So you think you can dance. But you're going to feel
like you're doing that.
And all that, and you watch that and you're like, you want me to go dance? I saw what dancing looked like on TV. I'm fucking out on that. Yeah. Right? So, I don't know.
It's true.
It's not true, but psychologically. Yeah. Like, it's like if I were to ask you to go, like, hey, go like rock climbing. You'd be like, yeah, like climbing 40 feet up a wall on a harness? I don't think so. What the fuck are you thinking about? But once you've gone, you're like, oh, it's actually like, you can go on ones that are like climbing a ladder. This is fun. Yeah. But like, how do you get people who are intimidated by that first bit? Yeah. And I think newbie people's being like, it was like really great, really fun. They make, and everyone will give their own version of a testimonial, but the more you can get in terms of like, this was super fun and they were super helpful, like that type of stuff, I think is a great lead in. Yeah. No. Even if it just lives on the website. Might be a good idea. Yeah,
I think video testimonials definitely we need an update on that.
Yeah, and then have you played with Groupon or not Groupon? Fuck Groupon. Don't do it.
Okay.
You can, but you're never gonna get somebody to pay full price after they've paid 90% off.
So it's funny that you bring that up right now, because someone not too long ago said to me like, hey, like, why don't you try Groupon? And I was like, is Groupon cool?
It's popular.
Is Groupon cool? Do you associate Groupon with something that's cool?
Popular, not cool.
Okay, so no.
Yeah, fair enough. What I actually meant to say, that actually was a slip. Because I was like, Groupon would be stupid. I'm coming up with ideas as we're talking. I was like, Groupon's stupid. Why did I say that? Sorry, Groupon. No, but what I was going to say is Airbnb Experiences. Have you seen that?
Okay.
That's interesting.
That is really interesting.
Yeah, we were just in Mexico and we found a guy. He had just posted it for the first time, but he was a professional surfer and he offered surfing lessons one day out, and you bought it through Airbnb Experiences. So you come on, and depending on what your profile is, it'll be like, ooh, here's some experiences that we recommend while you're traveling there. So you might not be like the long-term people, but it might be good for some drop-ins of people that are like in town along the way. You can put up like a cool description that has whatever package. I think Airbnb takes about 20%. But if you mark it up, in a certain way. Yeah. But that might be a cool place to play, like people that are traveling into town.
Yeah. No, that would definitely be interesting. And do you know what the process is for?
Simple. It's the same thing as listing your property. So you just go on, you say, this is my business. And then you set, so in the same thing with your calendar, you set availability dates and limits. So what you might do is say you've got a limit of X in your class, but you know you're going to get a certain amount from local. Maybe you set the limit at like 6 people or whatever that is, so that if that sells out, you still won't be turning away people.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you just set your price and put some pictures up. That's it. And then they book it right through Airbnb. And if they've just booked a hotel in Toronto, it shows up as like an option, as an experience.
Yeah.
It's a fairly new marketplace, but it's very untapped right now. It's very untapped.
So get in there now.
And it's trendy. It's not like Groupon. You can use it.
I love you, Groupon. Sort of, not really.
They don't need to love me. I'm never gonna use it.
No.
But yeah, that might be an interesting place to like get just a couple like one-off kind of things.
No, that would definitely. And I mean, out of curiosity, because I think that there's a lot of potential for instance, like that downtown working, 9 to 5 or even a little bit later person, whether they're in law or finance or whatever they're doing. But I can see that crowd having a really big interest in sort of like what we're doing.
Yeah.
And when it comes to like tapping into specific niches like that, do you have any suggestions?
Yeah.
Because
it is tricky to get into.
Yeah.
So there's a couple places I would play. I would go to Starbucks with a postcard.
Okay.
Yeah. So all the Starbucks downtown, we did it for our workshops. They have the boards.
Yeah.
And if you have like a good, cool, punchy postcard, and you like, hey, I'm local, and hey, this is not a big corporate thing, they're happy to leave it up. So I would actually get postcards printed and have people go through that, because all those everyone in that region is always trying to get out of their office for a couple minutes, right? Because you can't walk up and drop it off in their their lunchroom. So like right downtown Starbucks is those pin boards. You'd be very surprised.
Really?
You'd be really surprised.
But you'd suggest like poster with a picture and then like the rip-offs, or
I would do
business type cards, stick them on, let them take them.
No, I would print a 4x6 postcard.
Oh,
like a vertical postcard.
Got it.
That's like find your fierce, have a picture of one of the classes going on, and then just make it really easy. Just make it like the just like check us out on Instagram, and then your Instagram has a link to go buy the pass or whatever. You can have the website on there as well.
Yeah.
Don't make it a rip-off.
I don't like those rip-offs. That's why I was asking like what. Because funny enough, we made it like a group activity. We went all around sort of the neighborhood, and we put up our cards. But then I was thinking, and like on the card, it's like one free class card. And I've gone into stores around the neighborhood and given them out to actual employees and stuff, because obviously they can't give them to their customers, but they're obviously working there. And they could be interested, and that would be kind of like a perfect fit. Yeah. So giving them class cards, I thought would be really interesting. But I think that having some kind of visual, because right now it's sort of like it has the logo, and on the back it's like one free class card. But I think a postcard, you're right, could be a little bit more inviting, so that people actually know what it is. Yeah,
there's a sweet spot with it where. There's always a lot of business cards like sitting on top of the ledge somewhere. a poster,
overwhelm.
here's the secret. The poster is flimsy and it's too big.
Yeah.
And the board's not big. So when they're like, fuck, we're running out of space, get rid of this huge thing.
Yeah. Or people just put on top.
Yeah. And then the postcards like that, you can give a little bit more info. It's like, glossy. It's got a hard shell to it.
Yeah.
And it'll get left up a little bit longer. And then I would kind of keep rotating through every like 2 weeks and just go put it back up. And you'll build the relationships with the people that work there, and they'll actually keep them up longer as you see them more and more and more. It's real hand-to-hand combat stuff, but it's super effective. The other thing you could do is if you made friends with a couple of the catering companies in those areas, like, and I don't know if you have any like connections to that, but anybody in the food industry, the people that are bringing up catering, like breakfast catering or whatever, if you can kind of get an in with them, even pay them. Say, hey, I'd love to, like, when you're bringing catering up to the offices, I'd love to give you a couple, like 3 or 4 postcards to leave behind. I'll give you like X amount every whatever, and it'll get them up in offices.
So that would be interesting. Yeah.
So those 2 things. But I mean, other than, the problem is going floor to floor in 100 giant buildings is a real challenge. So it's like I've done it before where you kind of sneak in, you go into like the lunchrooms, you put them up until you get thrown out of the building.
I know, all the legal ways to do things.
But anywhere that will let you put up collateral, that's local to down there is probably a really good spot. Other than that, buying ads. Buying Instagram ads. Yeah. And serving them like during the 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. when everyone's kind of on their like off time, running those like that. You could even run them. You could even make them like question based. So if you went really local geo, like a 1 mile radius of this, and it could be like, what are you doing after work? Or like, don't forget to work out after work. Or like something where it's like it forces an immediate action and just run it for like a 2-hour window every day.
Okay. So okay. So the first thing on my website, because obviously I've been looking into, the best ways to, entice people once they arrive on your page and stuff like that. So one of them definitely is like a question so that people can relate to whatever you're providing, right? So maybe you can give like your own completely honest opinion on what we have on ours right now.
Got it. Should I bring it up? Or are you gonna it by heart?
Well, I know it by heart. Yeah, I do the website. So it's looking for a fun way to work out. And it's just a question mark. Looking for a fun way to work out. Strong, medium, weak.
It's on the higher side of medium.
Okay. Yeah. How would you improve upon that?
So the best, most effective way is to, if you can tell someone exactly what it is in less than a sentence, and have that be the only block on the top. That's the best way. So I don't know exactly what that feels like for you. So it's something like these aren't the right words, but super fun, like sort of high energy or something. Cardio, dance, fitness. And I think people would, I'm just thinking if that's too complicated still. Maybe not. So I'll give you an example. There's a company that I've worked with and done some work with in the past who they generate leads for agencies. Okay. So it's cold email and cold calling, whatever. And it's like the front of their website is, we generate leads for agencies.
Okay, very to the point.
Yes. And the reason they do it is because no matter how they came to you, I want to understand right away. People don't have a good attention span. Don't make me search.
What's a fun way to work out? I don't know. Like, it could be curling.
Yeah. Dance curling.
Oh my God.
I don't think
that could be a very interesting sport. Olympics.
I don't think that's a great idea. But no, so I would say like, I would say being very quick and very deliberate about what that first thing is.
Yeah.
Especially when you go down a path of putting out a video on Instagram that clicks back to the website, or a Facebook ad that goes back to the website. And I think making it feel like it's a fitness class, so that you pull away from the dance experience required feel is important for that audience. So we, you know,
like
I don't know. It's like we get you fit and teach you how to. I don't know.
I know it becomes wordy, right?
It's very but there is
cardio, dance, fitness, no experience required.
Mm-hmm.
Just that?
Yeah.
Just that.
Mm-hmm. Where'd you build the site?
It's on Squarespace.
Squarespace? No, I love Squarespace.
I love Squarespace too, but I've had like 2 people in the last month be like, so would you consider switching to WordPress? Because I've been talking to them about sort of, I guess more long-term SEO, organic reach and stuff like that. And they're like, really, you can't do that much with Squarespace. Although Squarespace is, you know, improving all the time.
I switched everything off of WordPress to Squarespace.
And what was the reason for that?
For me, as a marketer, as a content guy, I had a custom WordPress site built.
Yeah.
Fantastic. The guy that built it for me he did an incredible job.
Yeah.
The challenge I ran into is like, I want a landing page that I can now run an ad to for this, or I want a splash page that does this, or I want to create this and this and this. And I had to go back to him. And a lot of WordPress ones, like even if you use a theme, which are really bulky and cumbersome and make your shit run slow anyway, which is a big setback from WordPress anyway, when you buy a theme, it's bulky and it makes your shit run slower. So on top of that, then if you've got something custom, every time you need a new page or you've got an idea, it's like a process. And for me as a marketer, where I want to be lean, I want to be agile, I want to be quick, it just drove me up the wall.
Yeah.
So the only thing I'll recommend, the only downfall with Squarespace is on the blog, you can't write the same level of SEO content you can as a page.
Okay.
So with a page, when you go into the settings of your page, it has like the content, and then it has a tab for SEO, and that has a title and a description, which is what Google is reading to understand what your page is about. On the blog post, it doesn't have that same tab, only on a page. So right now what I'm doing is I'm switching all my blogs posts into pages. Oh. And then my cheat for that is so right now if you create a blog, it stacks them all in, and then you create a separate page that's like a gallery of all the blog posts. So it pulls them all up in a nice, neat way. Okay. Does that make sense?
So say that one more time. You
create the blog as
on
posts.
A page. Okay.
So you create a blog, and then so there's a bunch of entries in that blog. Yeah. So I don't have that in my navigation. Okay. I have that down in my like unnavigatable, right?
Yeah, like unlinked or whatever.
Right. And then up here at the top in my linked pages, I have my blog. And so when I'm creating that page is a gallery. And it's a gallery of my posts. So it pulls those in, and then it puts them in a nice order, whether it's a list or whether it's by boxes. Right. Right. And then you can have like three across or 2 across. So the actual blog is the gallery.
But each individual blog post is a page. That's unlinked.
Right now, they're blogs, but because I can't SEO them, so that's how I have it set up now. What I'm changing it to is I'm going to make each blog post an unlisted page. Right. So I can do SEO. And then my blog that's listed is not going to be a gallery of blogs. It's going to be a gallery of images, and those images will click out to those pages.
So you just have to click the image,
and then that will go to the blog post, which is its own page, which has SEO.
Right.
That's the hack. Yeah. So it's not too much more work, but it's like we've been getting inquiries from, like, we had a guy from Chicago call the other day. He's like, yeah, I just Googled social media training and you came up. And I'm like, oh, fucking right. That's great. That's amazing. So, but yes, at the end of the day, if you're going to invest a lot in SEO, I agree that WordPress is slightly better. Yeah. But for ease of use and like flexibility.
I know that's the thing for me, especially like I'm very comfortable with Squarespace. I love it. It's easy to make quick changes, updates. Anyone that looks at it is like, oh yeah, like your website looks great. I know that you have to be a little bit more techie when it comes to WordPress, and that is not really where I want to spend my time. And I like at this point in time, I don't want to hire someone for that, especially because the website doesn't actually need updates that often. It's just when something really changes.
Yeah. So yes, I completely agree with that. And what I would say is, the other detriment is like if you buy a theme on WordPress, or if someone builds something custom, if that isn't supported long term, and then you like the WordPress updates, but that doesn't update, then you're screwed. Yeah. And you got to deal with plugins breaking and updating stuff. It's just not nice.
And then, because there's also like, I guess there's the Google Analytics side of all of it too. And I actually just not too long ago downloaded like the Squarespace Analytics app. So definitely trying to get a little bit more data,
understanding
to see like really what's like, where are people stopping, where are they, like how are they getting to the page, all of that jazz.
Yeah, so what I'd recommend for that, and this is a little more on the technical side, you might have to have someone do this. So Google Analytics is a lot stronger than the Squarespace Analytics, although it's good to know. Yeah. But Google Analytics, even at its core, will capture all the data for you. Yeah. So even if you don't know what you're doing with it now, at some point you may, and it's there. Yeah. And then another layer on top of that is Tag Manager, which is another Google product. Okay. So essentially analytics sits inside of Tag Manager, and then Tag Manager goes on the site. Okay. And I don't know what Tag Manager is. So what that does is it observes actions on the site. So for example, if you have like a click to call the studio or click to email instead of the contact form, and someone clicks that on Google Analytics and on Squarespace, you're never going to know. Google Tag Manager, you can say if mail to comes up, which is the prompt that happens when you click if your email address is there and you just click it, it can actually track that action. Oh wow. And then on top of that, you can say, oh, someone that came in from Instagram is the one that took that action. So if you're doing, as you get deeper into that marketing path that you're going down anyway, you'll be able to know where the positive traffic is coming from. So I'd just get someone to help you install it. But the fact that you're looking at it now is good, because what you'll start to say is, I see this and I see that, but what is happening here? And when you start asking those questions, you can then start to figure out where that is within the data source, because it's all there, and you'll start to uncover questions that you'll want to dig deeper into. Yeah. But it's a good it's a good thing to start on. Yeah. But yeah, I think staying on Squarespace is probably.
Yeah, I mean, I've had a good experience with it. So.
Yeah, no, it's pretty good.
Yeah. No, overall really, it's just easy to use, and that's what I tell everyone. I'm like, it's just easy to use.
One thing that you could do on the site, because I know you're saying you don't update or don't change much that often, but because you have as much content as you have, I would actually consider making pages, blog posts, about some of the videos that you're making.
Okay.
The reason you want to do that is the more pages you present to Google, the more you're able to write content that they can read, SEO that can help. So it's just more into the data feed, Google's data feed of like, oh,
there's more stuff coming from here.
It was this fitness class in Toronto, this dance fitness in Toronto, and you use those keywords in the title and the description as you would do on the main pages. It's just giving it more and more pages to do that with. So whether that's you write 2 or 3 paragraphs about this is how we came up with the idea for this dance and and then you just embed the video. It might be a page that nobody ever goes to, and that doesn't matter. It's just more content for Google to read.
So another thing that someone was mentioning to me, and I have sort of been like playing with the idea of doing it, is they're like, really everything should be an ecosystem, and once they come in, you want them to sort of stay as long as possible, right? So currently, we're actually not putting our videos up specifically on our website. This person's suggestion that I was talking to was saying, why wouldn't you do that? Yeah. Keep them there. And then I had other questions about like if it's YouTube, are they going to click to YouTube and then kind of like go off in YouTube? Do you have to put it somewhere else? Like I've been using this thing Wistia because have you heard of Wistia?
Yeah.
It's
video
like
hosting.
Yeah. It's so that I don't have to put videos on YouTube.
I think you can embed that right on to Squarespace.
Yes, that's super easy, because we actually are playing with a little bit of an online platform also, because people are like, hey, like, love what you're doing, but like, I don't live in Toronto, or I live in Mississauga, or this, that. Yeah. So we're actually playing with the idea right now of having online classes as well. To do, right now we have a couple of single videos up there, but the feedback that I've been getting is like, we'd love something longer. Can you do like 15 to 20 minute videos that are workout based, and then it would be like a subscription model. Like, we're already making the content already.
Yeah, and that as well. Video
yeah.
cameras there, might as well produce it in a different way, right? Why not? Yeah, so I agree, putting the videos up on there, and even, you know, trying to get, actually now I'm thinking a little bit more about, if you have, so the content, if you're going to reach out to people, this is kind of a more top level thought, but if you're going to reach out to people and say, hey, I want you to pay attention to this, I've created this thing, it can't be promotional. The result, so the piece of content can't result in, you need me to execute whatever that thing is. That's not good content. It should just be pure value where you are outside of it. So if you do come up with a 5-minute workout, dance workout video, how I would think about it, and you know, within the subscription you'll have a whole bunch of them, but you might actually host that one video on the website, which is just a full 5 or 10 minute exercise video, and drive people to that.
The website.
You could also start, you know, connect with people, like certain job titles, certain ages on LinkedIn, and just say, hey, if you're ever looking for an interesting way to work out, I make these free workout videos. And even if you had maybe like 5 or 6 free ones, and then at the end of those, they could, oh, you know what, I want to come to a class, or I want to do that. That would be a really easy way for you to reach out and say, I'd like you to pay attention to this thing. If you're reaching out to me being like, hey, I want to tell you about this, but also come to my class, it diminishes. It's like, it's like saying your hair looks great, but it's that. But if the content is completely standalone, if it's just like, here's an awesome thing you can do at home, and it's a great workout, and I hope you enjoy it. That stuff you can actually manually reach out and be like, come follow me, because you're going to get some of this stuff. Right. So you might actually,
like, we're not actually asking for anything. Here's just something we thought you'd enjoy.
Yeah. So if you can produce a bit of that, and that might be a great lead in to just people wanting to do the courses. Right now I've had a taste, I've tried it at home and I get it, and now I'm comfortable. Or now I've had a taste and I want more, so I'll come to the subscription. But that type of content would be really good lead generation stuff for you.
Like a 5-minute freebie.
It's beginning. Cool. Well, I think we covered a lot of ground.
We did.
And we covered a lot of things, and this radiator is going to start exploding any minute. It's going to get really loud. So I know.
It literally sounds like construction.
It gets worse.
Wow.
So we'll stop it there for today. But thank you so much for coming. This was very fun. Yeah. And maybe we can do a follow-up in a couple months. And see, I know stuff's going to start changing for you. So I'd love to hear where it's at in a little bit.
For sure. Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. Thanks.